Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Sean Black. Uh, I'm also known around and about in the DFS industry, known as DFS 50/50. Of course, one of the things that I wanted to show you guys today is just something that I've been working on for quite some time. Is my DFS portfolio optimizer. This is not something that I'm giving out to the public or anything like that. This is just something that I just been building for myself. But in this lineup optimization show, the Fanduel lineup builder show, I wanted to just show you guys some I've been thinking about, some news, and as well as just kind of go through the motion of creating a lineup. So I already have, Fanduel up. I'm just going to pick a tournament here, and I already have like somewhat of a dummy lineup, but one of those lineups, like if I forget to refresh my lineups or whatever like that, at least I know this lineup will go hard. You know what I mean? So, and for the most part, from what I've noticed, this lineup will actually do pretty well. But anyways, we're going to create a new one from scratch. But before we move on, one of the things that I did, I uploaded FanDuel projections in their game, and basically, from there, I interpolated into my projection tool. I also have something for DraftKings too, but for the sake of the show, we're just going to focus on FanDuel because, the positions are in their raw form, as opposed to on DraftKings. Everybody can play multiple positions, and you can pretty much fill in differently from there. As you can see, I have here the salary, projection, position, floor, H value. A lot of people in the industry know what an H value is. Is just basically allowing you to see the true value of a player. The actual value, so like, let's say for instance, like worst come, not worst come to worst, but this is just like value for, how can I explain it? This is more to pinpoint your value plays. So I will be playing around, doing my sorting and everything like that so you can see it. And then, of course, points per minute. Those are the things I look at as well. So one of the things that I always tell people when they're doing their lineups and building is just make it simple. Make it, work for you. Whatever stats you like the best, turn that into a particular strategy. Some people, they can go off of Vegas over unders. Some people go versus, on defense versus position, which is what I used to do. And then, some people, they just go off of what other people are saying, and they just kind of create their own thought process behind it. So with any case, I've already pre-sorted this line out. And the top 4 players that I see on FanDuel tonight that I actually like, except for one maybe, is Steph Curry, JJ Redick, Carmelo Anthony, and Brook Lopez. Okay. Now, I will tell you, out of all these people here, I will say Brook Lopez is going to be the lowest owned player tonight. That simply because, the last 3 to 5 games, this guy has only been like no more than 6% owned. So by the time you reach this, more than likely people might catch wind on it. But the one thing that I noticed is that despite his price increase of 7,000, I think has been the same. Let's look at DFS Nerd, Daily Fantasy Nerd, that is. And I have the link to this website too, in case you want to use this. I've used this before, especially with baseball. And of course, y'all seen my shows here with basketball as well. So let me type this person's name. I know I can type. Let me play some music in the meantime. All right, so Brook Lopez. This is DraftKings. Let me switch it over to FanDuel here. So as this is switching over to FanDuel, sorry, my computer's running a little slow. One of the things that I want to look at in the center position is, who has some value going on, or, level of consistency. So for this, I'm using Fantasy Labs with their plus minus ratings. And as you can see, Brook Lopez, his bargain is at 6% between the two sites, between DraftKings and Fanduel. As of lately, he's been averaging about 32.1 points per game, or fantasy points per game. And as you can see right here, his consistency level is at 77%. So in other words, what's happening here is that he's meeting his value 77% of the time. And so with that being said, going back to here on Daily Fantasy Nerd, I want to see his historical stats. What did he do last time against New York? And as you can see, he did 35.2 fantasy points, and his price stayed the same. His price hasn't veered off in the last 4 games. As you can see, he's had moments where he slumped a lot. If you want to look, there was a couple of times, anytime he was over 7,000, he didn't perform that well against New York. Let's see. See, basically he was under 7,000. He did 32.3 fantasy points. So that was this year alone. Last season, let's look at what he did last season. Let's see. He was 76. He barely, he basically didn't really meet much value. He only did 4.2. When he was 8,200, he did have one good game where he had 3.6 fantasy points. And then, another one when he was at 85, he did 43, 83, 32, so on and so forth, right? So this information right here is basically going to help me validate what I'm looking for in the center tonight. So for that matter, if we go into FanDuel and we're building a lineup, go straight to the center location. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug Brook Lopez in. And the reason why I like to go with the centers first, I actually read an article on Roto Grinders. They were just basically saying, hey, listen, centers are really one of the positions that have the least amount of players to pick from, as opposed to, your power forwards, small forwards, and so on. So I said to myself, well, you know what? If I can actually knock out a good value center, let me go ahead and then I can focus on everyone else. So with that being said, right now I have $53,000 to work with, right, on FanDuel. So the next person that we have is, of course, Steph Curry. I think everyone at this point knows that Steph Curry performs very well at home. And even though the game might be somewhat paced down because Orlando plays a slower pace, they're still projected to win over Orlando by 14 points. So we'll see how that one works out. I don't know. I think I actually like Steph Curry, and him being at 10-1, I think he might be actually a viable play. So with that being said, let's look at some of his historical stats here. Okay, so we're in. When he was at 9,000, he only produced 37.8 fantasy points. That was the last game they played. And that was the only game they played so far this year until tonight. Last season, however, and again, what we're looking for upside in this situation, especially if you're playing GPPs. So as you can see, when he was at 10, anything over 10,000 last season, he had well over 60 fantasy points. I mean, just killing it, and he faced these guys 2 times around the same time, actually. So with Kevin Durant being out, I'm projecting that Steph Curry will actually meet his value tonight, let alone exceed it if Orlando can keep it competitive enough, and also if make his 3-pointers. Anybody who plays him on DraftKings, he's a 3-point beast. So if he's able to shoot up 6 or 8 3-pointers and make them all, you're getting 0.5 fantasy points on DraftKings. But on FanDuel, a 3-pointer is a 3-pointer. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and lock Curry in. Of course, I do believe that Westbrook and Chris Paul will be one of the most popular plays tonight, simply because Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan are out tonight. So I know a lot of people are going to be stacking that, the Clippers and Denver game. Again, what you're looking for is some type of variation outside of that. This is more of a contrarian play. Basically not necessarily going against the grain, but you're just basically trying to find the same unique value that you see in some of these players and other players that a lot of people are not going to be mentioning or talking about for that matter. So therefore I have Steph Curry. JJ Redick is going to be next situation. JJ Redick, his defense versus position is really good against Denver. Also, too, let's see here. To some extent, Denver does allow a lot of fantasy points to shooting guards, a decent amount. Not too much. I mean, I think it's a decent matchup for Redick. As of right now, this season, they only played 2 times in which one time he didn't play with them. He didn't play against them, but the time that he did go off for 35.6 fantasy points. Okay. Actually, they played 3 times. Actually, I apologize. Yeah, and his lowest game was when he was at 4,700, 23.7. Last season, let's look and see what he had last season here. At 4,700, he only did 17.9 fantasy points. At 4,900, he did 25.1. And at 4,500, he did 20.4. So with that culmination, I'm looking at is right now he is projected to do 34.9, considering that Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan are going to be out. So JJ Redick's going to be highly owned, but for this matter, it really doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and put him in. He's $4,000. He's almost right at minimal, almost right near minimal salary. So I think that he'll definitely be someone that I want to inject into my lineup here. Another person that we have in the mix is Carmelo Anthony. Let's see. Carmelo is 8,400. So I got one for y'all. This is gonna be something funny right here, right? So my friend, his name is Sean as well, and he basically said, "Don't trust a man who wears headbands," right? And so in this reference, anytime Carmelo Anthony is under 7,500, he's technically a must play. But considering that he is 8,400, he literally has to do 45 or better in order for him to meet value. Okay, guys. And as you can see right now, his points per minute is at 0.77 right now, which is it's okay, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he could find better value elsewhere. But let's look at his historical stats and see where he stands. And of course, the DVP is through the roof, because it's Brooklyn. Brooklyn allows points to every position. However, I don't know if anyone's been noticing this, but they've been very competitive as of late, despite them losing some games. And I believe the last game they played, I think they might have won. Let's see. Let's look. No, they lost. Okay. All right. Anyway. No, they did lose. Yes. New York Knicks did lose. They lost by 8 points, in which at 7,600, Carmelo did 38.9. Okay. When he was 8,500, he only did 17.6. So, and then, and see, look, when he was at 7,500, he performed better. So I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Despite the fact that he's ranking very high on my list, he might be a fave for me tonight. At 8,700, look, 8,700, he barely produced value. At 8,700, basically have to round it off to 9,000 in order for him to reach 5x. He has to be able to get 45 fantasy points or better, right? He then played at 9,000 last season, and then when he was at 83, he reached value once in the 3 meetings that they've had last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and 4. Okay, let's see. Okay, he reached value twice. My apologies. Okay, so anyway, honestly, me personally, you could play him. Basically, in this situation right here, he'll be good for a GPP play, right? At 8,400, he's GPP. I don't recommend it personally, but, you know, I feel like we could find better value elsewhere, and you'll see what I mean. Matter of fact, I'm not even playing around with y'all. Look, Gordon Hayward, 7,800, 36.42 fantasy points, going against LeBron. LeBron does allow fantasy points, you know, to opposing small forwards. Everybody attacks LeBron because, I mean, LeBron plays defense, but he plays defense in a way that is only during transitions, not when it's isolation. If y'all know what I mean by that. When they're going, you know, when they're going on a fast break, LeBron probably catch up and block from behind, or might steal the ball from behind, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? But when it's isolation and he's being isolated by a player, he's not really playing that much defense. So, bold call it what you want. He's, you know, I'm using Gordon Hayward tonight. You know, especially with Cleveland being at home, of course. And guys, also, there's a lot of narratives that can be used to create lineups. What I'm doing right now is I'm just basing everything on the value, on the real value that I feel a player has. Okay. Next up is DeMar DeRozan. Let's look at him real quick. His usage rate is pretty good. His player efficiency rating is good. The pace of the game is good, and he's at average. He's average right now with the DVP, which is defense versus position. So let's see what he looks like here. Last time he played at, let's see, right now he's at 9,300. When he was 88, he did 52.8 fantasy points against OKC. And that was this season. Last season, however, let's see where he was. At 7,900, he did 28.9. At 8,000, he did 40.5. The fact that Kyle Lowry is not playing right now, he's out till the playoffs. I mean, they really don't have anybody else to go to other than Ibaka and Valanciunas, but they're so matchup sensitive that you basically just have to exclude them. So just for the sake of the usage, the player efficiency rating, and the average DVP, just, you know, we're going to throw DeMar DeRozan in. He's at 9,300. Let's look at the overall over-under is 207. The opponent is giving up 101 points per game to Toronto, and that's OKC, of course. So right now, our budget is at 21.8, in which we have Curry, Redick, DeRozan, Hayward. Okay. All right, we still have some more players to fill in from here. All right, so if you're looking for something more risky, I will pick Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, he used to be really good for cash, but now he's more of a hit and miss player. But let's look at how he performed against Orlando. Let's see. And right now his matchup is decent. His usage is really good, but his player efficiency rating is really low right now. And that has a lot to do with just him being in and out. And of course, two guys, one of the things that I realized about these NBA players, or one thing that you should realize is that they're not robots. You know what I mean? They're not going to be consistent every day. These people are human beings, and they have issues outside of the basketball court, and some of those issues tend to follow them to the basketball court, and which in turn affects their productivity. So I wish I could be like an oracle and know what's going on with these people, but hey, sometimes you just never know until they actually get on the court, or you might hear the news of a death in the family or something like that. As you can see, he hasn't performed that well against Orlando. The few showings that he had, and from what I'm looking at here, is last season. And last season they only faced twice, and one of those he actually met value once. So as you can see, that he might be a GPP flyer, and for him being 7,000, I wish he was more like around 6,500. I might consider him, but because he's $500 more, unless I really just wanted to do like a boom or bust type of situation, with him, yes, I said it. He's boom or bust at 7,000 because there's no guarantee that he's going to give you that kind of production, especially with his player efficiency rating being so low. Thus, regardless of the fact that his usage is all the way up, and regardless of the fact that the points scored, points allowed by the opposing team is at 116. That doesn't mean anything. If you really want to use Klay Thompson, I will pivot right over to Ian Clark. Okay. At minimum salary, he's 2 points below in player efficiency, but almost there in the usage, and he has the same DVP standing with that as well. Okay. So I will go over to Ian Clark, if you really want to go there, honestly, because if it becomes a blowout, they're going to sit all their starters, and then Ian and the second unit is going to come in and they're going to get their points. So you can easily go that way, especially if you don't want to do like a JJ Redick, so that's one scenario that you can go with. So now let's look at Derrick Rose is another point guard that we can use, or we can use Westbrook. Let's look and see which one we want to pick today. As you can see, right now we only have $21,800 left in our budget. More likely we won't be leaning towards Rose. I think we all know what Westbrook can do. Let's see what Rose did last time against Brooklyn. The matchup is good. The usage is good. The player efficiency rating is okay. Let's see what he did last. All right. So at 6,500, he did 30 fantasy points. His usage was at 20. He was out another time before that. And when he was at 6'3", he only did 21.6, but he only played 22 minutes. I think it's very important to look at the minutes also in their last matchups played. Let's see what he did last season. Of course, last season he didn't play that much with Chicago. So the sample size is not all that great. And, with him being from 8,100 to 64 and so on and so forth, that wasn't really a good look too much. But in this case, he's 6,800. He has a good matchup. He did 30 fantasy points last. I expect him to do at least that, or maybe a little bit more. He does have a good ceiling of 37, give or take. So, just right here. So we'll see. Let's plug him in. The thing that I'm looking for too with him is also consistency. And anyone facing Brooklyn is going to feast usually. Okay. All right. So now we have $15,000 left, or $5,000 per player. Okay. Let's look at another. We need another small forward here. LeBron James too expensive. Well, he's not expensive. He's at value. I mean, if you don't want to go Curry, I will go LeBron, Hayward, and then pick another point guard. Let's see here. All right, Damari Carroll. Last time I remember he was dealing with an injury, but let's look and see. Yeah, he's questionable. Anybody who's questionable, I'm not playing. So we're going to skip him. We can pivot off to PJ Tucker or Norman Powell. But I think Norman Powell's a shooting guard on Fanduel, so it would have to be PJ Tucker. Doug McDermott. Let's see. When he's on the court, 1.28. Let's see. Let's look at McDermott, shall we? Yeah, that matchup is not good at all. But the last time he played and he had anything over 32 minutes, he did get 27.5 fantasy points. But with him being under the OKC system, that's honestly at this point, I think that's highly unlikely, especially with Andre Robertson getting the majority share of that usage there. So let's keep fishing. Matter of fact, just to kind of save on some salary, let's go ahead and go with PJ Tucker. Vince Carter is also in a good position too, guys. I mean, he's in a really, really good position. You know, this guy, he's done pretty well over the past few games. You know, minimal salary, close to minimal salary. Definitely something that you can look into. PJ Tucker, there he is, 36. All right, so now I have about 5,700 to play with on power forwards. I think I skipped over a couple of power forwards in the mix. Kenneth Faried is probable. I'm not trusting that. Taj Gibson, he's playing. Let's see, you got Enes Kanter and Paul Millsap. So Paul Millsap will probably be a very popular play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick his backup, which is Ilyasova. And I love Ilyasova, y'all. I don't think he gets a lot of credit for the type of work that he does. He plays defense. He's good on offense. And he's a very transitional player. I really think he's a well-rounded player. And, you know, it shows due to the fact that, you know, he's been averaging, if I'm mistaken, he's been averaging about 15 to 20 fantasy points per game or more. So let's see. Let's see, 4,800, 15.4 fantasy points. When he was with Philly, when he played against them, he had 53.4 fantasy points. So that's his upside, okay? Right now he's at 4,700. Last season he didn't play against them. The couple of times that he did play, he had, you know, he does very well against Memphis. And I feel like a lot of people will be sleeping on him. I think that he might be about 15 to 20% owned though, or less. So I'm going to go with Ilyasova again. And that will leave me with 6,700, in which we can find another. Let's see, we can find another player here. Let's see, power forwards. So we could do Serge Ibaka, or we could do Zach Randolph. I think we're all rest assured that Zach Randolph can get it about, I don't know. When he played against them last, let's see how many points he scored. He had a good favorable matchup. So let's see what he did. Oh, he didn't do too well at all. And he was at 6,300. Woo! Yeah, no, we're definitely not picking Zach Randolph. I don't care. Like, it's whatever. Serge Ibaka, Toronto. Let's see, his DVP is not looking all that great. He's been subpar performance-wise over the last, 5 games. And the one time he did play against OKC was when he was with Orlando, in which he scored 47.8 fantasy points. But price action right now is dictating that he might not do all that well because he's still trying to get more or less settled into his position over in Toronto. And his usage is it's right there where you want it to be, at 20. So I don't know. Let's dig around. Matter of fact, this is around the time where I would go in to my value and I will start digging for a value here on my optimizer spreadsheet here. So we got Redick, Crawford, Spates. Spates, yeah, he is a center on Fanduel. Terrence Ross, he's actually a small forward. See, let's change that. And usually, like, when I get stuck in this position here where, I have to go kind of down in the bottom of the barrel to find a player that will be suitable for my line, I will go to, like, Fantasy Labs and let's see right now, I'm trying to find somebody that I can work with. Of course, Jokic will be optimal. Millsap, Draymond Green, You know what? We're going to pick Cantor. If I haven't picked Cantor yet. Yep, that's what we're going to do. We're going to pick Cantor. There he is. And I believe Cantor, his points per minute is pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, he's projected to score 29.02 fantasy points. His floor is at 24. He's 0.77 in the points per minute. But, that fluctuates. It's just like with any other player. The cool thing is I have 1,100 left to play with. Right? So, with this much salary remaining, I could play around with my lineups and I can create other lineups with that, that amount of money left. I've seen it before where, people have won GPPs with, with like a 48-6 or a 45-5 lineup, and that's, very rare. It's more like a unicorn line, but, it is what it is. All right, so let me go ahead and go back to my optimizer here. And based on projections, let's look here. I'm going to go off of floor. Steph Curry is at 47.65. JJ Redick is at 26.87. Lopez at 34.73. Rose is at 31.3. All right, let's see. Gordon Hayward, he's at 29.64. Cantor is at 29.02. Let's find these other players here. All right, Ersan is at 18.5. Let's see who we have here. Who else we have? Oh, I forgot about DeRozan. $32.8 on DeRozan. Right now I'm at 250. Oops. My bad. Oh, by the way, if you're hearing this background music, that's all my production. You can check me out at www.seanblack.com. On SoundCloud at Sean Noir, SeanNoir. Where's my PJ Tucker? PJ. Okay, hold on a second. I'm sorry, y'all. Where's my? Oh, it's not even on my list. Suspect. All right. Okay. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Oh, don't do that. All right. Let's see here. All right. So now that I have, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna remove PJ Tucker from the mix. It's gonna put me at 4,700, and let's go to Fantasy Labs in the small forwards position and see if we can find anybody outside of PJ Tucker. Andre Iguodala. There we go. All right, boom. Andre it is. We're gonna pick Andre Iguodala tonight, y'all. All right, there you have it. You got exposure to that Orlando Golden State game, which everybody feels is going to be crazy. So there. Once you pick that person, we got it at 0. All right. So with Andre Iguodala, let's see. Let me do a fine search here. All right, he's projected to score, floor-wise, he's projected to score 20.59 fantasy points. So right now, floor, we're looking at 271.1 fantasy points. So this lineup could do good in cash tonight, depending on if it's going to be a super high-scoring night or not. We have exposure. If you look at the lineup, we have exposure to some high-scoring games, in which the Brooklyn, New York game, Orlando Golden State game, to name a few. We have exposure to, the Cleveland, Utah game. I mean, we have exposure to all over the place. All right, and this is a really good-looking lineup. Very promising lineup. Now, if you want me to tell you what they will actually do, just on projections, like the actual projections that I have, let's go to run game on that. Let's see. Curry, 59.8. JJ Redick, 34.09. Brook Lopez, 43.21. DeMar DeRozan, 43.1. So Derrick Rose, 38.5. Cantor, 29.02. Ilyasova, 22.18. Let's see who else we have here. Iguodala. Okay. 22.58. All right, so the difference between the two scorers, the first one was 271.1, and this one is 291.51. So this team right here is going to, based on just on base alone, it's going to be 271. It should be 271, right? So essentially, this team should be good for 50-50s and double-ups. Especially if you know, these, you know, players are able to keep the game close and there aren't any, you know, prevalent blowouts and whatnot. So just something to look at. All right, guys. So that's basically, you know, one of the ways that I basically use Daily Fantasy Nerds lineup optimizer. Well, their information within the lineup optimizer. And just for the sake of the show, you know, let's, you know, throw out another lineup. All right. They have Mike Conley, Chris Paul, Will Barton, Klay Thompson, Anthony Tucker, Maurice Spates, Draymond Green, and Guillermo Hernangomez. Okay. Now, you know, I don't know their algorithm or anything like that, but from the looks of it, it looks like a pretty, you know, good team. You know what I mean? So, you know, take a look at it, see if you like it, you agree with it or don't. You know, it's fine. This is a lineup that I'm probably going to, this, you know, this is a practical lineup that I have up here. And, you know, there may be a few changes in the mix of the day, but for the most part, I think this is a lineup that I'm comfortable with, especially if, you know, I get busy in the day and I forget all about it or whatever, which I seriously don't want to do that. But if I did, I will be comfortable. I will be able to live and die by this lineup. Okay. This is your boy, Sean Black. If you like what you see, you know, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. If you have any questions regarding this game or tonight's slate, you know, hit me up on the Instagram at DFS5050. I'll have my links all down below. Also, guys, please check out my previous video. I wanted to support a good friend of mine. He is, you know, getting a lot of coverage, helping get coverage on this homeless teenager that is out there trying to make ends meet to help support his parents who are very much disabled and not able to work at this period of time. We have a GoFundMe account in which we're trying to just get people who have the heart to give so that we can help this young man out. I see a lot of myself in him, you know, coming from a single family home. And my mom, you know, at one point in time was trying to work 3 or 4 jobs to make ends meet. And I just, you know, when I was a kid, I was just like, man, I can't wait till I turn 15 or 16 so I can get a job and help my mom out. Because, you know, I feel like no parent, you know, honestly, I feel no parent should be raising their child. No single parent should be raising their child alone. They should have a pair because it takes 2. But, you know, we can get into that another time. But please check out that video. Thank you so much for tuning in to this lineup builder show. You know, I know I haven't been all that consistent with it, but, you know, I want to just show y'all some things that I'm doing regardless. Hopefully you got something out of it. You know, there's a lot of videos on YouTube that, you know, can help you build your own spreadsheet or optimizer and stuff like that. And I highly recommend you to go check that out. And then from there, just start finding your own truth in the midst of DFS. All right. Again, all the beats that you've heard in the background are from me. So check my website out. I have a link for that down below. I want to say downstairs. Anyway, SeanBlack.com, SeanBlaque. My Instagram is at Sean Black, SeanBlaque. My DFS account is at DFS5050 on Instagram. Again, thank you for tuning in. Y'all be blessed. Get that money, faith, and skill.